Hey everybody, welcome back to the Help Me Parent podcast. My name is Kylie. I am your host, and with me as always, Dr. Ellen Moore. Hello.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Doing good.
Happy Wednesday. And we are in the studio with Gina and Erica. I almost said Gina and Erica. That's not right. Today we are talking about 2 and 3-year-olds. Yay, everybody's favorite age group, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Some people's favorite.
So we're just taking the next few episodes just to talk about each age and stage of what children go through. We're talking with some of our staff members, and that's why we have these two. Erica is our early childhood director, and Gina is our junior area leader. I almost said director, then I was like, that's not right. Our junior area leader. So this is y'all's forte, but just tell us a little bit about yourselves. And you have had 2 and 3-year-olds before in your home with your babies, and no, they're not.
Yeah.
So you graduated the stage.
Yes.
Congrats. Well, or
Your youngest still isn't.
I was like,
according to Ellen, I still have a 2-year-old,
Yeah,
but
she's been 2 for about 3
according
years.
to her birthday, she's
Or
5.
4
So
I was thinking, I was like, are we going to bring up that joke? Probably.
Yeah,
Yes,
we did.
absolutely. So just tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll dive right in.
yeah, my name is Erica. I've got 4 girls, and so they were all 2 and 3-year-olds at one time. None of them are anymore. And then, yes, I get to work in early childhood, so get to work with 2 and 3-year-olds day in and day out with all that we do during the week, and then also, Sundays and Wednesdays as well.
Yeah, perfect. Gina?
I'm Gina Hector. I've got 2 kids. My kids are grown. I've got a 18-year-old and a 14-year-old, 2 boys. I love the 2 and 3-year-old stage. It's probably partly because I don't have any 2 or 3-year-olds that live at home with me anymore. But yes, the preschool age I think is super fun. They're learning and growing so much. So that's a little bit about me.
That is so fun. And you have a 3-year-old granddaughter, right? Is she
2.
2.
She's 2 and a half. So
2 and a
she
half.
is
Okay.
right in this sweet
Yeah.
spot.
Yes.
And I just spent the weekend with her, so I am fresh up on
Yes.
all my 2.5-year-old things.
You're
Yes.
like, this is perfect. So my icebreaker question for y'all, the phrase like terrible 2s and 3-nager is really like, it's kind of, it comes up with this age. Do you think that's true? Did you experience that with your kids? And just kind of a little bit about that.
I think this age is hard, and there are hard things, but I think that's true about every single age and stage. Is there are hard things and there are really great things, and so it's just all about where you put your focus and what you kind of are glorifying as a parent, where you're really, but I mean, I do think it is a hard stage. It is physically demanding. There's a lot going on. So totally, I think it is a difficult age, but I also think it's a little silly to say like these are so bad when every age has good and bad. So
Totally.
I agree. There is a lot going on at the 2 and 3-year-old stage. They're learning a lot. They're growing a lot. They want to be independent and do things for themselves. Each one is so individual and different. I'll tell you, I had one that was a rule follower. I just had to tell him, and he was not going to do it. And then I had a boundary pusher. You set a boundary, he's going to test it. So, I mean, they're all so different. I think the experiences are varying, but I agree. It just, it takes a lot because they're learning a lot. And so that requires a lot of you because you're having to teach a lot. But they get through it. And
so do the parents.
yeah.
I have always said by 3.5, it's like you've crossed a huge milestone as a parent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
I agree. There's something wonderful and difficult about every age. So I think with those terms, I just think 2s and 3s get a bad rap sometimes. Kind of like teenagers.
Yeah.
There's like this expectation that it's going to be so awful that they just get a bad rap, and it's almost like you're expecting the worst. So I think it's really great when parents can just look forward to every age and stage. And yes, there is something hard about every age and stage. And I agree. Some ages and stages are physically demanding on a parent. Some are more emotionally demanding. So it's demanding in different ways. But I will say for a parent, 2s and 3s, it's physically exhausting. They are so active and their brains are developing so quickly. I mean, daily, hourly, there is all of this going on in their brains and they don't know what to do with it, and they're figuring out how to express it when they can't always do it with words. So it's with sounds or
Screams.
or
physical
expressions, all kinds of expressions going on that we just have to be ready for as parents and realize there's just a lot going on in their little heads.
Yes. Well, that's funny that you said that. That actually was one of my questions is how do you keep up with a 2 to 3-year-old and their busyness on top of your busyness, whether you're working from home, so you're with them all day, or you're working 9 to 5 and then have the night shift with them. How do you keep up with a 2 and 3-year-old?
Or a stay-at-home.
Or a stay-at-home.
Yeah, any of it. Workout. Workout before you have them because you won't have time when you have them.
Yeah, there's no work. They are the work.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I guess what comes to my mind first is like you just, one, you kind of embrace the stage and then you're just kind of in it. If you'll view yourself as like, we're just in it together. And what I mean by that is so when the good, like we're happy and then we're dealing with this, it's like you just have to stay in it. And it's like, okay, let's deal with what comes. When you take a nap though, I'm going to take a nap because I'm physically exhausted. Like you kind of, it's just a part of like, okay, we're just in it. We're kind of, and I don't mean you're letting them be the boss, but you're kind of just where they're at, you just have to be too, because that's what they're learning. And you have to be okay with, let's learn what you're currently trying to figure out and understand. And there is a little bit of this, if we try to buck against that or like, no, I want to just do my thing and you go do your thing, you're going to miss a lot of the learning opportunities. And I think then you start getting frustrated where if it's like, well, I have to go work out. It's like, maybe this isn't the stage where you really, try to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. I think part of it too is just realizing, I like how you said it, just be in it and while you're in it, to remember, you're not going to be in it forever, but you do have to be in it, like physically.
Yeah.
They are not independent enough to be able to be on their own for lengths of time. So you do have to physically be with them to keep them safe and, make sure that they're not getting into something or whatever. So I think there's part of it. And you do have to be so aware of what's going on emotionally, what's being expressed emotionally. But that doesn't have to dictate your emotions. So you've got to be present with them, but it doesn't have to, if they're mad, you don't have to be mad. If they're sad, you don't have to be sad. So it is being present with them, but also not letting them control you and your emotions, that you're not giving into that. And being present.
Because really, when they're mad and they're sad, that's when you don't get mad and sad. You are like, okay, let me show you how to handle the mad and the sad, because they don't know that. But if you're getting upset, you can't help them. But if you'll have the control, like, no, you don't dictate me, but realize in your mind, oh, but you need me to help you navigate this emotion and what to do with it.
Yes.
I think one just really practical thing that comes to mind for me is, like everybody's saying, they do require a lot of supervision. You cannot leave them on their own. But as a mom, whether you're home all day or whether you're just there in the evening, whatever it is, you have things you have to be doing too. Laundry has to get done. Dinner has to get cooked. All of those things. One really fun way to bring them in, I think, is to just bring them along with you. If you're in the kitchen cooking, they can help. Let them help you, or let them sit on the floor and take things out of the cabinet. That is super fun. They love to do that in a safe way, but then they're there as much as you can get them doing things with you. That's just a way that they learn too. So I think that's one way that just as a mom is helpful.
That's a super good point. You know, let them help you carry the laundry in there, or can you go take this to mommy's room, or go take this item of clothing to your room, or, you know, give them an empty bowl and a spoon and let them stir away. My granddaughter was all about stirring this weekend. So she was stirring everything.
Another thing that reminded me, just like real practically, is you do that when it's like you can join, but also having a safe spot that is really boundaried, that you can teach them to be on their own. And you do have to be really sure, okay, there's nothing that can come off the wall or anything like that. But for us, COVID happened when we had 2 and 3-year-olds at home, and it was a lot of time together. And there does come a point where it's like, mommy loves you helping, but mommy needs a break, you know? and also it's good for you to go explore and learn some on your own too. So we don't do it as much when we're working all day. There's not as much time, but if you're at home all day, having a safe spot where you know you can have them go play, and sometimes they're not happy when they have to go there, but realizing it's not, 20, 30 minutes of independent playtime is a good thing too. So
yeah, totally. I want to touch back on the emotional side. Like y'all were talking about how their emotions, you can't show the anger or this frustration when they're frustrated. But is it to help them process like sadness and frustration and anger, do you show them like, oh, like mommy or daddy's really sad right now, like, but I am choosing to do this? Or how can you help them kind of know emotions and understand them in an appropriate way?
I think maybe one of the best ways to do this is when you do get frustrated, or when you do raise your voice or whatever it is, then you come back to them and you say, you know what, mommy got frustrated and I didn't do that well. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have raised my voice, or whatever it is. And you apologize and you ask them to forgive you is one of the best ways to walk them through step by step. Hey, you're not going to be perfect. These things are going to happen. Here's how we handle it when it does.
Yeah. I think too, something interesting about a 2 and a 3-year-old is they're really, really self-focused and centered. And it doesn't mean, and I don't mean that because like they're not being caring towards the world. It's just developmentally. They don't have that, they haven't reached that point to almost even super be aware. So I think what Gina's saying is perfect. You're modeling that. And then when they're upset, you're meeting them and showing them how to deal with it. But I also think that's the grace of this season, that they're a little less even realizing what's happening around. They know what's happening around them, but they're really focused on how do I feel and what do I think. And they're not quite as aware of others and what they feel yet. And you're teaching that and you're developing it and growing it. But they're really like, I just kind of focus on me.
Yeah. I think too, it's good when they are experiencing especially strong emotions, that are really visible. Maybe they're crying. I think it's good at this age to begin using words that describe emotions, putting some vocabulary to it, like, are you crying right now because you're sad or you're mad? And are you sad because this happened, or are you mad because mommy said no? And kind of give them some language, because their language is developing so quickly. I mean, it's new words sometimes every hour.
Yeah.
And so starting to put that language to it so that as they get older, they're able to, it's not everything is mad, you know, or are you sad or are you frustrated? And then part of that being present is for us as parents to be aware of maybe what's causing the frustration or the sadness or the anger, and to talk that through. They're not going to understand it completely, but it's still great to have conversations.
Yeah.
You're sad because because big sister said you couldn't play in her room. That is sad sometimes. When we can't do what we want when we want, or be with who we want to be with when we want to be with them. But when we're sad, we can still find something else to be glad about. We can be sad about that, but glad that we can still play in our room, you know, or you can still help mommy, or, you know, whatever.
Yes.
They're not going to understand all of those words, but talk it through and give them some language to it that they'll be able to use more and more the older that they get. And I think when we're kind of really aware, it's like, why are they so frustrated? And sometimes it's like we're giving them too many options. You know, they've got too many choices that they're just on overload. And so to minimize, to realize, is it when they're getting ready for bed or getting ready in the mornings, and getting ready as this whole thing? Well, maybe because they're trying to pick what to wear out of 15 outfits, you know, give them 2 and let them choose from that. Or if it's, you know, whatever it is that's causing the frustration or the sadness or whatever the strong emotion that they can't articulate, kind of dive in and see if you can figure out why and help them.
We've talked about before how when a child is like showing like an emotional outburst, and it's like you kind of let them work through it, but you don't let it control the family dynamic. How can you do that with a 2 and 3 year old when tantrums come up or they begin to throw toys? How do you kind of minimize that in a practical way and kind of not let it affect the whole siblings family dynamic?
I think it is super helpful to remove them from the situation. But I also think one thing that, as Ellen was even talking about, how you're giving them language, it's also when you can give them language for, okay, you felt sad. Because of this. But when you feel sad, you are not allowed to throw a tantrum or to hit your sister, or when you feel like that, you are then able to help them understand you can cry. And if you need a hug, you can come get a hug. Or if you need a minute and you need to go to your room. And again, they're not understanding everything, but you're able to help give them ways that when you feel this way, here's what you can do, but also here's what is not allowed. And again, the whole point is you've got to be in it. So like with a 2 and a 3 year old, if you remove them from the situation, you don't just like leave them to cry, because they don't understand that. They haven't learned yet, why am I going to my room and just sitting here? It's, hey, come here. Let's us go talk about what is going on. Let's go deal with it, you and me. Versus if you have like an 8-year-old, you might be like, hey, you need to go cool off for a minute or whatever. But again, it's us handling it and being able to then be in it with them and talk them through it, or give a consequence or whatever that needs to look like.
I think a big question going through, obviously not in these exact words, but just developmentally, 2-year-olds are trying to figure out, they're figuring out, I am able to do some things on my own. Like, I can do it, me do it. You know, that's what 2-year-olds say a lot. And they're figuring out, oh, I can do some of these things that mommy or daddy have always done for me. And but there's also this question, am I able? You know? So giving them opportunity to learn these things and to say, you are able to do this, but you're not quite ready to do this on your own, you know, and just kind of walking through those in those specific scenarios and instances. And it's like, yeah, you're able to throw toys, but that's not the right choice at this time because we don't ever want to hurt somebody. So when we're angry or don't want to share or whatever, here's what we can do. And I think at these ages, role playing is a really great learning tool. You know, if you're going to have a play date and another similar age child's going to come over and toys and sharing are going to be a thing. You kind of do some practice and you talk about it ahead of time. And, you know, okay, well, what if he wants to play with this? What do we say? And so just kind of setting them up for some success and giving them some chances to practice beforehand and giving lots of positive reinforcement when they get it right. Good job. Positive reinforcement is prime at this age.
Yeah, totally.
I one more thought though too. Also as a family though, they don't get to control the family. But as a family, you have a 2 and a 3-year-old. And there is some amount of grace and like, this is part of having a 2 and a 3-year-old. As they get older and they're manipulating and they're controlling the family, that's a little different. But really a 2 and a 3-year-old, a lot of times they're frustrated because they're learning, because they don't know what to do. And that's just part of having a 2. It's like a baby. You want to be like, well, no, the baby has to cry in another room. It's like, siblings, this is part of having a baby. And it's like, you know what? Did your 2-year-old sibling get really upset because they couldn't do that? Yes. And we will talk and we will help them know. But as the siblings, you have to understand it's part of a 2-year, you know, so there does have to be this like grace given to the different kids at the different ages too.
Yeah.
And let the older siblings be part of the teaching moment, you know, and say, hey, could you show them how we put our toys away or how we obey right away or, you know, whatever.
Yes. That's what I was going to say. I have seen kids, older siblings have watched parents, how they handle a situation, and then they will model and do the same things in the moments that get really heated and big. But one thing that came to mind that I was going to say too was you get those moments where they're really having a big tantrum. They're really distraught. Helping them to calm down first and just come back to let's all get calm, you staying calm, helping them get calm. And then having those conversations will really help them to be able to understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a really good point. When they're all upset, your words
Right.
are pointless.
They're like, this is
That's
not
really
important.
good.
Shut your mouth.
Let's talk a little bit about social skills for 2 and 3-year-olds. They're walking, they're forming a lot of words and talking. What do healthy interactions look like for your 2 and 3-year-old with other 2 and 3-year-olds, with you as the parent, with siblings, adults in their life? How can they interact with them in a positive way?
I mean, I think, again, it's all being taught. Like you are teaching them everything. I was just thinking the other day we had a little 3-year-old and had to have him apologize. And I was like, sorry. I was like, no. I said, I want you to say. And we started with the teacher's name. We'll use Miss Erica. But it's like, Miss Erica, I'm sorry. Because I hit you. Will you forgive me? But that is like, good job. You did it. But like never on their own would they have done it. But it's all this like, I'm in it with you. I'm almost giving you the words and the formula. And then you're doing it and you're letting. So I don't know if that's exactly what you're saying. But I just come at it of all of their social interactions are still totally being formed and developed, and they're learning how is it polite to start a conversation with someone? I should say your name, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that for that reason, that reminded me of like just kind of sticking with it too. Like we had a story with one of the little girls who I think we came into your office to get candy, and her mom was like, "Oh, you need to say like thank you," and she was just kind of like, and she stuck with it, right?
Yeah.
And she was just like, "No, like you need to say thank you." And then how long did it take?
Yeah, maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, but she stuck with it. And it's like you can just blow over and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and be like, "Oh, okay, they said I'm sorry," but it's like they're not learning.
Yes.
So it's like walking them through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about saying I'm sorry, but for some reason that can be really hard for a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. And you do have to stick in it and kind of be as stubborn as they're going to be and help them to get there, because that is how they learn.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And you just give them opportunities to learn, get them around other kids, get them in situations where they can learn and have those interactions, like at church with a teacher, with other kids, with opportunities to share and all of those kinds of things. Then that's helpful.
Yeah, totally.
I think too, still kind of managing expectations, for this age. 2-year-olds, they're just developmentally, because their world revolves around them. Again, like Erica was saying, not in a selfish way, even though that there is a huge piece of that. But it's their awareness has not yet gone beyond themselves. And so when you have a play date with a 2-year-old, it is often called like playing together alone. Right. You're playing together but independently. You're in the same space, you're in the same room, but they're probably not going to interact and play with each other like you see kids do when they get a little bit older, because they're just learning. And that's a great way for them to learn and a good pace for them to learn if they're the first child or an only child, or older kids are out of the house, that they have opportunity to be around some other kids. But just because they don't play together doesn't mean either that, well, we can't do that anymore because they just didn't like each other. Or it doesn't mean your child is lacking in kindness and compassion and social skills. It's like, oh my goodness, what's wrong with my child? They're 2.
They're 2.
And so they're going to play independently. But then when another child is in the room, you're kind of, they're watching each other, and one will do something, it'll catch their eye, and it might pique their interest, and they'll be like, oh, well, that looks fun. I think I want to play with that too, and go try to take it. And, all of those things. But, and again, you're going to manage your expectations, pace it right. And with 2-year-olds, if they go and take something from another child during a play date, it may not initially be this huge consequence. It's a teaching moment first, that says, oh no, remember, we love to share our toys. He was playing with it first. When he's finished, then it'll be your turn. Right now, it's your turn to play with this toy. And you just take these opportunities in the moments to teach these social skills, and again, giving them vocabulary. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. All of those things. That's why we do it, please. So that's all part of the social development.
Yeah, it's also when they are in those play dates and things too, it's also important that we don't insert ourselves too quickly. Because the other side of it is we're in it and you're there making sure nobody's getting hurt. But they're the best teachers of social skills are their peers. So I take the toy and then this like, hey, and they kind of have this and it's like, well, okay. They just worked that out. Now that may not happen, but also if they take the toy and their kid's like, keeps going, don't say it. Like, they're okay. Like, let them kind of teach each other with, I'm not saying of course, you're there, you're watching. But I mean, there is also a lot of good parts of learning or, especially like with siblings, I'm thinking, and like, we'd have a 2-year-old, but then we've got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old and the 2-year-old takes something. Well, now they're mad at you and they don't want you to play. It's like, well, that's how you kind of also learn. I don't take it. Like, now suddenly they don't want to play. And again, you're still in there, but they really are really good at teaching each other too. And that's a good aspect of growing social skills.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk about the spiritual side of their development, because this is a fun stage. They're getting to dance and sing around. But what are some ways that parents can pour into their child spiritually? That what maybe you have done that has worked really well, or just a general practical way as well?
One of the first things that comes to my mind is, again, these conversations and putting language to things. And, we know at this age, repetition is a huge, highly effective teaching tool. So just reminding, using language all throughout the day. I would say especially mornings and bedtime, but all throughout the day. And you just begin talking to them and teaching them about who God is. And you wake up, you wake them up in the morning. Good morning. We're going to have such a good day. Did you sleep well? Look how Jesus kept you safe all night long. And he has a good day ready for you. You ready to go have a good day? Just putting some language in there at bedtime. Thinking about your day. What happened today? What did we like? What did we not like? Jesus was with us and he helped us, because he loves you so much. And so you're kind of teaching about who God is and what life with God looks like all throughout the day. It's not an hour devotion. It's not.
They won't sit still through that.
No, exactly. It's not just at church, Reading to them is a great way. Reading toddler Bibles, one story. That's who God is. He's the one who made the world for you because he loves you, and you just all throughout the day make it part of our lives, which is what it means to follow Jesus. You live life with Jesus. Start giving them a picture of what that looks like.
Yeah, exactly. I think just like you're saying, just modeling each of those things for them. Also, I think it's never too early to start. You're praying with them before they go to bed when they're a baby, when they're 2, when they're 3, reading the little books. Also, if you do come to church, what they're bringing home from church. So their little coloring page that shows what they talked about. It says that Jesus is your friend. And, they're at 2 and 3, they are learning those things. They can repeat those things. And I think it's just showing them Jesus is my friend, and he can be your friend too, and what that looks like in each little aspect.
Yeah, if you think about the way that a 2 and 3-year-old is sharing the knowledge they know. Oh, where's your nose? Where's your elbow? Where's this? What noise does a cow make? What noise is this? It's very much like it's PC, it's like, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this. And they like that. That's the developmental stage they're in, where it's kind of this like, it's not parroting information, but a little bit where it's like, I finally got this in me and I can get it out. And so I think along with all that, it's helpful to give them some of that. Like, who does Jesus love? Me. Who does God say died on the cross? Jesus. Like and I'm like, again, just naturally, I'm not saying you need to do a devotion, but expect that they can start to give some of that kind of knowledge. What color is this? Blue. They want to live in a very concrete, I know what to answer this question, but that's good. And we need to start those real kind of basic foundations where you can just kind of give this information, because to them it's not just information. At their age and stage, this is their whole knowing. It'll go beyond that as they get older, but right now that's what they should be able to start doing, is giving you a little bit of that, like, I know when you ask me this, I'm going to answer this. But that's good, and that's right for them.
Yeah, like, you're right. We do that with this age all the time. What color is the sky?
Right.
Blue.
Yeah.
And so just start inserting, well, who made the sky?
Right. Yes.
God made the sky.
Right. Yeah.
Who did he make the sky for?
Yeah.
Who made, they're eating their favorite fruit,
Yeah.
and our granddaughter loves fruit like crazy, strawberries, blueberries. So it's like, who made the strawberries?
Yeah.
Jesus made the strawberries because he loves you. Who does Jesus love? Me.
Yeah.
Well, does he love me? Does he love mommy? Does he love daddy?
Yep.
And they may say, no. And then you say, no, Jesus does love mommy. Jesus does love daddy. And you know what? Daddy loves Jesus too.
Yeah.
And mommy loves Jesus too.
And then you could say, doesn't that make you happy? Let's say, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. And it's just, they like to do that. They like to say what you say. And but right there, you're teaching them how to worship, how to praise God.
How to be grateful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And express it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Something we talked about last episode, because we were talking about infants, we were talking about what they add into people's life at the age and stage they're at. I want to do that with every age group we go through. So 2s and 3s, what in this stage, what do they bring that showcases who Jesus is to everyone?
The first thing that comes to my mind is this sense of wonder. They are in awe of everything. I can't remember if I had told it on here, but this past Christmas, our son and daughter-in-law took our granddaughter to just drive around in the truck looking at Christmas lights, and all she could do was say, Mama, wow. Mama, wow. And it's Christmas lights on a house, but it just reminds us of this wonderful world that God created. And the joy and the expression of that, it's like I jump up and down and smile more when I'm with my 2-year-old granddaughter than any other time in my life. When else am I in my house jumping up and down, smiling and singing and dancing? Never when I'm by myself.
You don't do that?
Yeah. But when I'm with her, it just reminds me that, oh my goodness, life is just full of wonder and joy and delight. So that's what comes to my mind.
You can go ahead if you want to.
No, you go.
Okay. I think what comes to mind for me is they're pure, they're innocent, they're very honest. Some things you don't want to know, they will tell you. But there is just, when you talk about like childlike faith, there is just this innocence, this pure, they believe you because they trust you. So when you tell them Jesus loves me, they believe you. They're not questioning it because they love you and they trust you. They've seen you love them well, and so they believe Jesus will love me too.
Yeah.
And that's just that's what comes to mind.
Which can inspire us to
for
have
sure.
that. It's like, yes, Lord, I do just need to believe you and take you at your word.
Yeah.
Yes.
What came to my mind was the like moments you get to see them start to really learn. I feel like this is the first time in your child's life where you're teaching them and you're trying to get them to do stuff, and then they'll get it and you're like, yes, you did. Like I just was thinking like the one moment you've seen them interact with kids and they've always been ugly, but then they see somebody cry and they go and give them a hug and you're just like, oh, it's happening, and I just was thinking, and the joy that we feel as a parent, I think the Lord feels for us when he's like, okay, come on, you're going to learn this, you're going to get it. And then you do it one time and the Lord's like, yay. And just that like sense of joy at learning these sweet, tender, compassionate things that, even we have to learn, and that's what came to my mind is like the feel of like, you're getting it, you can do some stuff. So yeah.
I love all those answers.
I think just one thing, other thing that came to my mind, not just related to this, but even what we were talking about before with, as we're teaching them who God is and how that shows up and how we relate to others, to remember that some of these things, this is something that I remember learning so specifically as a parent. I just kind of thought they knew it was like innate within us to be kind and compassionate and gentle, some of these things. And it just dawned on me one day when my kids were not being that. I was like, wait a minute. I have to teach them that, and so things like kindness and compassion, when somebody else is hurt, we don't just walk by and ignore them if a sibling is crying or a friend is crying. Yeah. We say, are you okay? And when we do that and we say, that was the kind thing to do, or that was the gentle thing to do, that was the right thing to do, we're giving them a picture of who God is and how he treats us and how he wants us to treat others because we love him, and to remind them at 2 and 3 that God loves them, but he loves everybody else too, and he wants to use us to show that love.
Yeah, I love that. So last question. What is a benefit or something to look forward to during this age and stage? Whether something you really were thankful for when you were in this stage, and just an encouragement for parents.
They're funny. They're so funny. They just say the darndest things. They just do something ridiculous, and it's just fun. Even when they're mad, you're like, I can't show them, but oh my goodness, I'm laughing at this. It is just enjoy even the ridiculous things where they're screaming, but you're like, this is so dumb. But because and then they are intentionally funny or unintentionally without throwing a fit. But it's just, they're funny and they're learning. Yeah.
Yes, you're almost to the end of diaper changes.
Yeah.
You're starting to, you can really look forward to that. That's going to help your budget.
Yeah.
It's going to free up some time.
Yes.
So
that's so true.
Takes a lot of work, but man, once you get it done, it is freeing.
That is so good.
Silly, but very true.
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
For a 3-year-old mom.
You're
That is
exactly
a real
right.
thing. That is a real thing. Yes. And I would just say, again, to just enjoy and remember, I think especially at this age and stage, the days can be long, but the years are short. And it just goes by so fast. So to enjoy, to not and it's easier said than done, but don't get in a hurry. Don't wish it away.
Yeah.
But to remember too, it won't last forever.
Yes, those are so great. But thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah.
We loved having you on, talking about it. It's a fun age and stage.
It is.
And so parents, thank you for tuning in. We hope you grab something from this episode, and just remember that you can parent and we can help.